Hello and welcome to Micro Minute. My name is Marty Jobson and today I wanted to talk to you about liquid crystal displays and how they work. Now, previously on episode 4, I think it was, it's in the show notes, I showed you what my my phone looked like underneath a microscope and talked to you a little bit about how that works. So just very briefly to recap, if I put this under the microscope like this, there's a suitable bit down here that works quite well, and then if I have to use, I'm actually using this to control it. There you go. There's a big red cross. Let's get that in the middle. Like that. And then if I zoom in on that, you can see what's going on with the individual little tiny pixels. Oh, and I've zoomed in too far. Let's get this slightly more centrally placed there, like that. Okay, that's better. And then I'll focus on that. Focus. Right, and what you can see, hopefully, is that we've got individual pixels, and this bit here that I'm showing you here this is actually the white bit of the cross, okay, and this is the red bit. And the red just shows up the red pixels, and the white bit you're getting the red, the green and the blue. And when you zoom out of this and look at it sort of as a whole, it appears just red and white and not all the individual colours. And each one of those tiny little pixels is like a shutter. It can either be open and light goes through it, or it can be closed and light doesn't go through it. And then there's a bit of colour over the top of the shutter. Literally, it's a bit of coloured, see-through colour paint, so that if it's open, the light goes through and you see red or green or blue. Now, how those shutters work is what I want to try and explain to you today using, this here. This, let me go back to it. So what I need to do, I can bring that out from under there, a bit awkward. This thing here, this little piece of glass here, is actually a liquid crystal display that's been stripped down. Because what a liquid crystal display consists of is a sandwich where you have two sheets of glass. Inside the glass is a liquid crystal. And then on each side of the sheets of glass, you then have another layer of polarizing filter. Okay, so let's break this all down. So a polarizing filter, I've talked about this previously, again, quickly. Light is a wave. It comes to you in all different angles. A polarizing filter only lets one angle of light through. So in this case, vertical, horizontal doesn't get through. Now, what we do is we take two polarizing filters. We take one that's this way and one that's this way. And the one that's this way means that only light that's vertically polarised gets through. But that means that light that's vertically polarised doesn't get through the second filter, because this only allows light that's horizontally polarised to get through. So it appears black. Now, if I take a polarising filter, and here's a polarising filter, okay? It's just a see-through filter, and I pop it under my microscope and I turn on a bottom light. I've got a polarising filter that I've put here. I've also got one here. If I arrange it so that the polarising filters are lined up, so that one filter is like this and then the second filter is also like that, light should go through, which, if everything is working, means that you see white coming through the microscope. Light comes through the microscope. But if I turn the polarising filter through 90 degrees, so that now one is like this and one is like this, no light comes through, it's black. Okay? Right, so that's what happens if you have cross-polarising filters. No light goes through, unless you use a liquid crystal. Now, liquid crystal, get it out. This is a model of what a molecule of liquid crystal looks like. If I hold it over there, you can sort of see it in all its glory. Okay? Right, so it's a long chain molecule made mostly of carbon, which is the black blobs, and hydrogen, which are the white blobs here. There's an oxygen there, and then right at the tippity top there is a nitrogen here, which is very important. I'll come to that later in a second. And this molecule has got two separate regions. There's the top bit, which is relatively rigid and doesn't really move about much. And this bit, there's a whole load of these molecules, what this bit does is it causes the molecule to line itself up in neat ordered arrays, a crystal. This bit is the bit that makes it liquid, because it's all floppy and wobbly and it doesn't line up. So this forms itself into a crystal array. But the array isn't just sort of simply bomb, 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 like this. The array naturally puts a twist on itself. So at one side, you'll have molecules like this, and then gradually the molecules end up like this. Ooh, like that, I've gone off screen. Okay, so they start out like that, and then gradually they sort of form like that. So the whole thing has a twist on it. And when light goes through liquid crystal, it twists as well by 90 degrees, which is critical. Because what that means is that light that comes in vertically polarised goes through the liquid crystal, turns through 90 degrees, then can go through the second polarising filter. It's all very complicated, but it's actually relatively easy to show you. What this is here is a sheet of two sheets of glass with some liquid crystal in between attached to electrodes, because this is the important bit as well about polarising material. And I'll come back to that in a second. Now, if I take this, so there's a little sandwich of liquid crystal inside here. If I put this under the microscope, look what happens. You put this under the microscope, I slide it in from the bottom, and as I slide it in, there it is appearing, and it's not quite focused, but you can see the effect. I focus down. It's quite difficult to focus when there's nothing to focus on, right? So what you've got there is this bit. This is the very edge of the glass, and there's a little bit of sealant, and then this is the liquid crystal, and light passes through this. If I take it away, it's completely black. If I put it in place, the light passes through the liquid crystal, okay? So it goes through the liquid crystal. There's nothing fancy about this little piece of glass. It's just what's in between. But when you've got this cross-polarised light, cross-polar filters rather, light goes through the liquid crystal because it gets this twist. Now, the other thing about liquid crystals is they have this nitrogen at the top here, and that makes them electrically sensitive. So in an electrical field, they will move about. And that's why this is connected to my little box with a battery in it. Because what I can do is I can apply 3 volts, it's just a couple of small batteries, to this sheet of glass and this sheet of glass, one on each side, positive on one side, negative on the other, so that the liquid crystal gets an electrical charge, and that disrupts the crystal. And it's only the crystalline structure that allows it to give the twist to light. So if I put this back under my microscope, and then I show you that. Right, there it is under the microscope, okay? So at the moment, the liquid crystal is at the top, and it's letting light go through, so it's white. But if I turn on the electrics on this little box, it goes black. And if I turn it off, it goes white. So when the electrics are on, when the current is on, it's black. And when the current is off, it's see-through. And what I've effectively made here is a little electronic shutter. I can turn the light off. And if I push this right in, so that the whole thing is, the whole screen is covered with this, I can now turn the light off, and I can turn the light back on again, and off, and on, and off, and on, and off, and on, as much or as often as I want. And now imagine you miniaturize this, and you turn this so that every single one of the pixels on my phone is one of these shutters. I can turn the light on, or off rather, and then when I turn the electrics off, the light comes on. So now I can electronically control every single little pixel. And that is how the phone screen, and in fact every screen, in fact probably the screen you're watching me, that is how that is working. And really, when you start literally breaking it down, it's quite astonishing what's going on. Now, next week on Monday, I'm going to be talking, Monday is for botany, so we're going to be doing mould, bread mould. We're going to be having a look at it under this microscope. No cross-polar illumination, just ordinary bread mould. And yes, before you say anything, I know fungi is technically not a plant and therefore doesn't fall within botany, but hey, they've got to go somewhere, haven't they? Right, that's all from me. Please do follow along, subscribe to the channel, let people know about it. I'll see you next week. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.